It seems the South African National Lottery has become the latest stage for political drama, high-stakes contracts, and shadowy connections. This time, the spotlight falls squarely on Deputy President Paul Mashatile and the newly appointed lottery operator, Sizekhaya Holdings. We are going to break down what's truly happening behind the scenes of the staggering 60 billion tender rand, and why the Democratic Alliance is demanding answers that could shake the very foundations of this deal. Earlier this year, the National Lotteries Commission, or NLC, made a decision that sent ripples through South Africa's economic landscape. They awarded an 8-year license to a relatively unknown entity, Sizekhaya Holdings. This contract, worth a staggering 60 billion rand, places this company firmly in charge of South Africa's national lottery until the year 2034. But almost immediately, questions began to pile up. The most glaring. Sizekhaya Holdings was, remarkably, only founded just days before the application deadline for this monumental tender. And now, explosive claims have emerged, linking its shareholders directly to some very powerful political figures within the country. This isn't just about a new company, it's about who is behind that company. At the very center of this brewing storm is Paul Mashatile, the country's deputy president. The connections are, shall we say, intricate. His sister-in-law, Kumo Bohotsu, is a shareholder in Bellamont Holdings, one of the key companies that forms part of the Sizekhaya consortium. And she isn't the only familiar face raising eyebrows. Moses Tembe, a known and prominent associate of Mashatile, also has direct links to Sizekhaya. But the web of connections doesn't stop there. Add to this intricate mix Sendile Zungu, an influential ANC-aligned businessman with undeniably deep political ties, and suddenly, this seemingly new company, Sizekhaya Holdings, looks less like an emergent market player and more like a carefully assembled political constellation. The perception, for many, is that these are not merely business dealings, but politically infused maneuvers. The Democratic Alliance, South Africa's main opposition party, isn't letting this slide. They have publicly demanded complete transparency from Trade and Industry Minister Parks Tau, specifically calling for full disclosure on whether Deputy President Mashatile influenced the awarding of this incredibly lucrative 60 billion rand contract. In Parliament, DA MPs cited specific, critical clauses in the Lotteries Act, clauses which unequivocally prohibit both direct and indirect financial interests by public office bearers or their affiliates in such tenders. They pose the key, piercing question to Minister Tau: if he had known of Kumo Bohotsu's direct connection to the deputy president, would he still have approved Sizekhaya Holdings for this contract? This question cuts to the heart of the matter, perceived influence versus due process. Minister Parks Tau, who only took over the portfolio in July of last year, has been resolute in his defense, insisting that the entire process was fair, competitive, and beyond reproach. He acknowledged delays in finalizing the operator but emphatically claimed he applied his mind properly before selecting what he deemed to be the best bidder. Tau described the entire process as technically and legally complex, emphasizing a critical point, that past lottery licenses in South Africa were all, without exception, marred by litigation, and that, he argues, this one is no different. It's a thorny history. But while he stoutly defends the process itself, Minister Tau also made a crucial promise: he would investigate the specific allegations against Sizekhaya's shareholders, acknowledging that it would be irresponsible to simply ignore the red flags raised by investigative journalists and the media. A potential admission that even he sees the gravity of the implications. National Lotteries Commissioner Jody Schultz has also stepped forward, unequivocally backing the decision to award the license to Sizekhaya Holdings. She confirmed that thorough background checks were indeed conducted on all consortium members, including both Moses Tembe and Sendile Zungu, whose names have surfaced in connection with Deputy President Mashatile. Her central argument: neither man, Tembe nor Zungu, holds public office. Therefore, she asserts, no violation of the Lotteries Act occurred. She even stated that extensive legal consultations confirmed this interpretation. However, the critical question of perceived influence, of the undeniable optics of these connections, remains the proverbial elephant in the room. In South African politics, perception often carries as much weight as explicit legality. Let's not forget the palpable chaos that has surrounded the actual license handover. Ithuba Holdings, the previous operator, had its contract extended for only 5 months after a legal ruling dramatically cut down Minister Tau's planned 12-month extension. This created a vacuum. A new temporary license was then granted, not to Sizekhaya, but to a separate entity called Ithuba Lottery. Now, legal threats and projected losses of over 50 million rand cast serious doubts on the stability and smoothness of this transition. One thing is abundantly clear, the future of South Africa's national lottery is now inextricably caught in a complex web of ongoing legal fights, short-term fixes, and intense political speculation. It is a precarious position for an institution that generates billions for good causes. Minister Tau has promised to file a full written explanation of his decision in court in the coming weeks. The court battle, led by losing bidder Lee Kolinga, is widely expected to reveal even more about precisely how Sizekhaya Holdings managed to come out on top in this high-stakes tender. In the meantime, all relevant documents, evaluations, and bid proposals are set to be made part of the public record. But the DA remains firm in their stance, they want full accountability, and they have made it clear they are not backing down. This saga is poised to unfold further in the public eye.